In this video, I am looking at exercise 1-6A on page 1-24, displaying reports using the recently viewed reports area. So they want us to display an income statement, which as we know shows information for a period of time, either being, for example, 1 day or a few days, a week or a few weeks, 1 month or a few months, or the year to date. The recently viewed reports area can display with the last 4 reports listed. So they're talking about in this area. I'm just going to actually minimize our supports and services. We don't need that right now. And that's going to bring my report center up just a little bit higher. So you can display up to 10 different reports in that area. But in this field, if it wasn't in my recent reports, I would just open up this drop-down menu and I would double click, or I would click on my income statement, and then I can click on create. So this is going to open up a pop-up window that shows me my income statement. In this case, it is from January 1st to April 18th, which is my current session date. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so that we can actually see it. In this, you can move things around. You can make it look a little bit different. If I didn't want to see the breakdown between my sales returns, and discounts, I can click this little button, and that's just going to show me my net sales. Same thing for cost of goods sold or my expenses. I can really make this have as much or as little information as I need. I'm always a fan of the more information the better, so I am going to open those back up. So there's a lot more modifications that we can do, and one way to do this is to click the modify button on the menu. And again, this is not the menu in the main Sage 50 program. This is the menu bar specifically in our income statement pop-up. So when I click on modify, I have report options, report columns, the totals, the print settings, font settings, or footer. We're going to click on report options. And like the textbook says, you'll see the following window. It's always a good idea to compare what the page in the textbook looks like compared to what you're seeing on the screen. So if I click this drop down, I could create a template and I can save that there and it will be available to me in the drop down, or I can use the last used report options or default. So we're not looking at comparative income statements for right now, so we're not going to look at that. They want us to click our default report options, which shows us the options used by Sage 50 accounting without any changes. And the last used report options show us the last time you requested the report. Whatever changes you made to the display will be applied to the new income statement. So if you click on the Save Template button, you're able to save a report with any changed settings, such as the date, the terms, or anything like that, as a template that can be retrieved later with the same settings. Let's cancel out of that. So again, we're not going to look at comparative income statement. They bring attention to this show notes button with a note that says do not change. You're able to add specific notes to viewed and printed statements, which is available in the appendix information, but not something that we are going to focus on right now. The other box I can check is to hide accounts with zero balances. This is going to remove any general ledger accounts that have a zero balance from displaying when we are printing reports. So as noted in exercise 1-2, you can change the date in reports using either the drop-down or the calendar feature. So if I wanted to display an income statement for the last week, if I click on this calendar, I can navigate to wherever I want it to be. So from April 8th to April 18th, or whatever date we want it to be. So for our range, we are going to leave the date as January 1st. I'm going to go back. This is the start of our fiscal year. And using the calendar, we're going to change the date to April 10th because we haven't entered any data yet. So that is the last session date for information that was entered. So it's not available to me in the drop down yet. I'm going to click on my calendar and I'm going to back this up until April 10th. So we're going to click OK. And you'll see that my pop-up has changed. So before, where my income statement date was from January 1st to April 18th, now at the top I'm January 1st to April 10th. So pay attention to that in any assignments that you're working on, that your dates align with what they should be. So we're not going to print it at this time. You're actually not going to physically print anything probably, but you will need to we're going to have to talk about this in our one-on-ones. I think you are going to have to save it to a PDF and submit it to me that way. But we'll cross that bridge in a little bit. So they're just showing you how to maximize it so you can see more on the screen, things like that. They show you the availability to reduce or increase the amount of information on the income statement, which we already looked at. So we're not going to go through hiding or minimizing any of the sections. And that is going to bring us to page 1-26, exercise 1.6b, which is displaying the balance sheet using the report menu. So again, I'm actually not going to go through all of that because it's the same process as the income statement. I can close out of here. And again, I would just use my drop down and I would go find my balance sheet, hit create, and that is going to pop up. 1-6C shows you how to do it through the reports menu at the top rather than through the report center. So again, if I click on that and click on report center, all of the modules that are available to me are listed on the left-hand side, and you'll see that all the different types of reports that are available are different depending on what module you're actually in. So the default is financials. So we are in the company module, and that's actually the only one that doesn't have its own dedicated name, but financials is the default. And that's where you're going to find what we use the most often being our income statement, our balance sheet, trial balance, journal entries, and ledger entries. So we don't need to show going through the dates and things like that. We have already done that sort of thing. So on page 1-27, they talk about correcting errors. So before posting, you can change whatever fields need to be changed, and that's fine. After you post something, you can't just erase it from the system if it's done incorrectly. This is a transparency feature. It's to make sure that there's nothing underhanded going on. You can't put in an entry, print a report that shows that entry, and then go back later and remove it from the system without a trace. It doesn't work that way. You can reverse entries or you can correct entries, but there's always a history of the corrections and adjustments that you've made. As we move through, it'll show you how to make certain corrections and adjustments, but more information is available in Chapter 13, which is dedicated to correcting errors. So the next thing is exercise 1-7, entering a transaction in the general journal. I'm going to start a new video for entering a transaction.